Welcome back to Reimagine. Here we are in January of 2021, a new conference, so much going on, so many great interviews to bring to you all. And today is no exception. Joined now by Emiliano Grodzki, CEO at Bitfarms, one of the key central mining operations, I would argue globally, but certainly throughout North America. Emiliano, firstly, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Now, Emiliano, before we get into your fascinating industry, Bitcoin mining and crypto mining as a whole, such an interesting space, so many facets to break into. Before we get there, for our audience, could you give us a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into the crypto and blockchain world, and what brought you to the Bitcoin and crypto mining space?
Yes, why not? I have 43 years, 44 years old right now, and I am entrepreneur. I'm born and live in Argentina, and we saw how works the economy there. We suffered, along the time, too much inflation and devaluation,
Mm-hmm.
and I made a lot of different, uh, enterprise or companies regarding, the building, technology, food industry. But but the common of all that the business that I built in the past that uh, I use, the creative way for try to build different services, with advantage in different market, that these kind of services or product, the people didn't come to don't come to find. That's mean with my partner and friend Nicolas Bonta, we saw internet, in the early 2016, and we used it BTC for avoid, the barriers of the currency in Argentina because the government don't allow to buy US dollar. A pretty similar situation that we suffered, right now. That means we will begin to use BTC, for convert, pesos, and then we find the amazing, uh, way that the BTC transaction, validates. That means we start to understand and learning about the crypto mining. At the first stage, we begin with Ethereum GPU
Mm-hmm.
mining. I remember that during 2016, we had more than 5% of the Ethereum network. And
Wow.
then we, looking for better places for mine, and we find Canada, as a pretty interesting jurisdiction with plenty of energy and the proper weather for build, our Bitcoin mining operation in efficient way. That's I believe that it's a part of in which way that we started this business and we grow so fast during 16. And I remember a similar situation that occurred now with the spike of the price in the end of 17,
Mm-hmm.
first quarter of 18. We in this moment we need to decide in which way we structure our company, and we had two different way in this moment: an ICO, a non-regulated ICO, as we saw,
Right.
too much,
Plenty of, yeah.
yeah, and a traditional way for structure our company as a public company.
Mm-hmm.
That means we have a friend who was a portfolio manager from Soros in New York, and he knew pretty well an Israeli guy who built a couple of public companies in Canada, and he had a shell company in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and we made a reverse takeover, and we was one of the first company for sure in the world that be public, in Tel Aviv Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Was tough because we need to we the only way for be there, we teach it, to the regulators and the auditors how work BTC, space, BTC mining was very difficult at the beginning for explain them how works. And 1 year after, we decided to delist our company from there, and made the first prospectus from scratch in Toronto Stock Exchange that we are traded there, right? Because in Israel was inefficient, because the different languages, the different trading days, and our operation is in Canada. That makes more sense.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as you say, and there is certainly, it is no humble statement to say, and no need to be a humble statement to say, you've managed to put together one of the largest public mining operations, crypto mining operations in the world. No small feat, and based out of Canada. Tell us a little bit about the sort of, I mean, you've touched on a little there with regulations and difficulties as you went along, but tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you've faced in getting to the position you are now, both from the mining side, but also the regulation side, and so on?
No, it's very interesting question, because because I I explained that we need to fight it and teach it to the regulator and the auditors how our industry, because it's something totally new, right? And it's a new paradigm. And I believe that the situation that we live right now with the BTC, the entire BTC space, that's mean, the trading platforms, DeFi platforms, mining companies. I believe that maybe between 20 and 40 different companies who push the industry, in the formal way as the public companies, and, in the regulated way, created the possibility that the auditors and the regulator understood pretty well how work our industry. And this is the only reason that the industry is mature for receive, capital for accredited institutional investors who for sure they are regulated and audited, right? That means the only way for open, the 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 market capital of the public company in the proper way, in a secure way for the investors, is be professional, right?
Right. Right,
Be professional and audited.
which is so fascinating, given the fact that Bitcoin mining, when people think of it, certainly anyone who's been sort of aware of the space throughout the first half of the 2010s and whatnot, it was always characterized initially by anyone being able to join in. It was this free for all. You could set up your own mining rig at home, and effectively go from there. I mean, is that industry dead? Are we, is it the professionalization of the industry, like Bitfarms and other major mining operations and pools like that? Is that what the future looks like? And what are the positives and negatives of that versus the old-fashioned home-based operation?
No, I believe that, if we like to make BTC and the crypto space, huge and professional, we need to be creative, and we need to be professionals. And the only way for do that, because imagine that the market capital of BTC, 2 months ago was 350, 370 billion dollars, for example. And we believe that BTC, driving is that something a couple of 100 times more bigger, right? And the huge money of the world, is professional. And as we saw, for example, my company for first times raised money in the market, with institutional accredited investors in United States. And one of the companies who invest in our company, was his first investment in the space.
Wow.
Yes, this company has around, I believe that around $8 billion under his management, and they
Mm.
invest, for first time in our industry, and they invested maybe 0.2% of his asset, first
Right.
trial. That's mean
Right.
the only way for continuous creating, BTC and the crypto space huge is in one way. I don't believe, anymore in the people who, plug the machine, stolen energy, produce coins. Because in the future, for sure, with all the traceability that BTC, have, will be super easy for understanding if these coins, coming from a non-regulated or
Right.
no, proper way. That mean I believe that this is the driving of the future for sure. The consolidation makes produce advantage and disadvantage in the way that maybe we will see consolidation and less distribution of the hash rate.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that the hash rate, maybe will be less distributed, but will be more secure because more
Mm-hmm.
professional people or organization take care of the stability of the network.
Mm.
You
Well,
know,
and, that,
it's
and that's
it's like a trade-off.
for sure. For sure, absolutely, it is a trade-off, and you raise an interesting point there about distribution and the hash rate because for so long, a sort of I don't know if to say bottleneck or perceived weakness in the industry, in the Bitcoin mining industry and crypto mining industry as a whole, is the fact that so much of the hash rate is consolidated in China, in particularly the Sichuan province, China, with their abundance of cheap hydro energy. I'm sure you can explain all of those elements better than I. But you're one of the few operations, I guess a growing number of operations, but still the relatively few operations that are operating, across the world at scale. Do you see the Chinese consolidation as a problem? Do you see it as a trend that's trending downwards? And sort of what do you see as the ultimate fate of the distribution of the hash rate?
No, I believe that for sure China is the main place for the BTC mining and other
Mm.
cryptocurrencies because they produce the miners in a professional
Right.
way,
Right.
and they have the proper energy scale for do that. But there, they have a huge contradiction because there is forbidden for buy US dollar or BTC, and the
Right.
people there allowed to buy in insurance or RMB, the machines, they pay the energy, the OPEX, and produce BTC who they can send to his family in other parts of the world. But I believe from the beginning, when I start in this business in 2016, China has more than 85% of the hash rate. And I believe
Mm.
that now with the progression and the development that professional companies in United States and in other parts of Europe, maybe China have uh, a little bit more than between 50 and 55%, 60% of the
Mm.
hash rate. But we will see, uh, more hash rate, in Europe, Eastern Europe, and
Mm-hmm.
South America and North America than China for sure in the next 5 years.
Right. And I think, and this is something that I don't think everyone, even those inside the industry, are always aware of, but, crypto mining, particularly, Bitcoin mining, is such an energy intensive process. People don't often think about this when they're interacting, with their exchanges or sort of in the digital space, but there is so much energy involved in this process. And it's impactful in such a number of ways. One of the few industries with such heavy amounts of logistics and whatnot involved. Could you tell us a little bit? Obviously, you've chosen to set up your Bitfarms operations in Quebec, in Canada, where there is access to cheap energy. But can you tell us a little bit more from an insider perspective about the energy situation and question around how Bitcoin mining works and how it will work?
I believe that the energy question is one of the bigger, ask in our industry, because
Mm-hmm.
the mainstream, complain about that, but I believe that other industries, like I don't know, the aluminum factories and wherever use more energy than BTC,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe that we have hundred of, I don't know, thousand and thousand of branch of banks, in the main street in the entire world, that they, have the best location in the street, and they the consumption of electricity there, is huge, and they, the contamination of all the materials that they need to produce the branch of the banks, nobody talk about that, but right now the population don't need the branch of the banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in other way, I believe that for now, the evolution of the miners, they are so efficient. Like, imagine that the miner consumption is very similar, that in terms of machine consumption, that we start, 4 or 5 years ago, and the hash rate is like 10 times more, like the efficiency growth 10x, and the energy that the miners use for mine, come from different sources. The best source that uh, the miners can find is the hydroelectricity.
Mm-hmm.
That it's totally green, and is the energy that Bitfarm use. We can saw another sources of energy, like, turbines that, you know burn gas,
Mm-hmm.
that the contamination is not, than aggressive, that the miners that use, uh, carbon, coal,
Mm-hmm.
that it's very bad. But I believe for now, the miners use surplus of energy, right?
Right.
For sure, the appliances and all the stuff that, the human plug to the grid, and use in his houses. Uh, the appliances now are a couple of times more efficient that, 10 or 20 years ago, and this situation, contribute to the real consumption. That I believe that a lot of industry, all industry shut down his plant, and they don't use any more energy, and we will see
Mm-hmm.
another industry like BTC that use new energy, but for
Mm-hmm.
sure will be a challenge, this situation. It's the
But you
main
think it's
resources. It's the main resources for, for put BTC in working. Like, it's
mm,
like the combustion for the motor.
right. And do you ever worry? Obviously, there's so many factors, volatile factors involved in your industry, whether it be the price of Bitcoin itself, whether it be the cost of electricity, and as we see, the hash rate for the BTC market, for the BTC network, changes massively between the wet season and the dry season in Sichuan, which is always blows my mind that actually impacts the industry. But do you worry that after, let's say, we had the halving back in May of last year. Obviously now we've seen the price skyrocket, but if Bitcoin hadn't gone up the way it had, would you have been worried about the future of the industry, about the ability to keep your costs, or do you think the market will always self-correct?
No, I believe that for sure, the huge miner need to be more efficient day by day, and try to find, cheaper electricity and more efficient operation, and try to find, the more efficient machines, miners.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that we are, in a lot of people try to make a parallel between this situation with the spike, the spike of the price now than 2017. But the situation is totally different,
Right.
because in the 2017, nobody from the mainstream, understand what
Mm-hmm.
happened and what's going on with BTC. And, after the the hard working of all the companies like Bitfarms that push the industry forward, in a regulated way. Right now, as I mentioned, a couple of minutes ago, we will see uh, tons of money for deploying our industry, and tons of billion of dollars for enter and try to buy BTC for hold, value along the time as a reserve of value. That's mean I believe that we will see a huge pressure, in the buying pressure of BTC that will drive the BTC higher, more faster than we can imagine. For sure, we will see corrections that we saw the last 2 weeks with 20% correction, but in the common BTC correction a couple of years ago was 40%, not
Right.
20, right? That's it's a good signal. And in the other way, regarding the hash rate, I see that the possibility of the production of chip and the miners suppliers, they don't are prepared for upfront, the huge demand that they have right now and in the
Mm-hmm.
future. That means this we will take, a long time, because other situation, that carry the COVID and the pandemic is that the people, work at home and
Right.
you know begin to consume more computers, more phones, more electronic devices, and the demand of the microchip is so high, and the
Mm-hmm.
dimension of the miners, the BTC miners production is so, small in comparison with them, that the negotiation with the provider of the chip is so hard, and
Mm.
they don't have the proper capital for anticipate the orders. We come from the crypto winter, and the price of the machine
Right.
is so low and wherever. That means this is, my vision.
So I mean, effectively, what you're saying is it's even the opposite problem. It's not that the industry may risk shrinking, but actually that it may not be able to keep up with demand. Is that what you're saying? That it's there's such growth and such potential. That's a powerful thing to say. I mean, I guess I wonder though. Looking out long term, what about? I mean, do you fear? I mean, again, this may be too early to even think about, but do you fear the next halving or the halving after that? I mean, if you look forward to the future of Bitfarms 20 years from now, when we've been through five more halvings, is that something that concerns you, or it's just not even on your horizon?
No, 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 because 1 year in our industry is like 10 years in other tech industry. And I believe the game and the real play with the BTC miners will be only the next 8 years. And it's awesome, the way that the scarcity of BTC, start to impact in the mind of the peoples. It's really awesome. I never see, the scarcity of BTC that we suffer today. And we can trace a couple of comparisons for try to illustrate, how is the situation. But for example, Grayscale, they brought,
Mm-hmm.
more from the halving, made of the last year to now. They brought more BTC than the total emission, was.
Right, right,
This is only one fund, I don't know if they have, 10 billion dollars or wherever under his management, but it's, a little, demonstration of how impact the scarcity, in the mind of the investor. For sure, the gold has his scarcity, but it's not enough. It's common. The humanity, maybe discover more gold, in Mars or with a new, chemical process, but uh, the gold don't have, any kind of traceability, and it's impossible to comprove, the origin. It's 1,000 kilometers far for this new asset class.
Do you think beyond, at Bitfarms, do you guys think beyond Bitcoin and to other sort of major profitable proof of work networks you can mine in? And are there any in particular that you're particularly focused on at the moment that you think could be a supplementer, let's say, or an addition to the Bitcoin network?
No, for sure, we understand that uh, plenty of company try to develop new layer of services on top of BTC, and we are we have a department who with a research department who try to find new opportunities, new businesses, and that I believe we are in the early stage of BTC. That's mean just now we saw huge amount of capital who driving for our industry. We will see a huge growth in the next years.
And in terms of we spoke about the Chinese Chinese miners and Chinese mining operations, but in terms of inside North America in general, maybe even Europe as well, do you see other mining operations, out there sort of as a threat that you can, or companies that you can work together with? Sort of, how does the mining space, is it a winner takes all situation, or is there a chance for collaboration in the space?
No, I believe depend the way. Our industry is like a race because everybody like to have more hash power. That mean more revenue stream, more profit. More power, more proportion of the BTC network. But we saw the last week, interesting stuff that different public and professional crypto mining companies in the United States try to collaborate, for example, for establish the first mining pool regulated. That it's a very interesting things. I believe it's a part of a new age.
And do you see that work with regulators in general? I mean, not just in terms of mining pools, but in terms of everything in your industry. Do you see regulators in North America as, I guess, friends or foes in the battle to get professionalized crypto mining?
No, I believe that the regulation and the audit, and that's the possibility of the big four, starting to regulate, not to regulate, to audit, in a vertical, integration of the entire chain of production of BTC will be better and will drive more capital, huge capital for the space. It's the only way.
But I guess what I'd be interested to know is from a regulation perspective, is there any reason you would prefer, the Bitfarms prefers to be operating in Canada and listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange rather than in the States? Or is it simply a matter of logistics? They've got the hydroelectric.
No, it's the same. I believe that it's the same. The crypto miners in the United States had, ha, had in Canada we have an advantage because they, the last government of United States with Trump, include the tariff. It's like 27%, import tax. That's the return of the capital of them is 27% more. Yeah, directly. That means, but in terms of jurisdiction, the auditors, the regulation is the same.
All right, and then I guess just looking forward, we're holding this conference and having these conversations in early January 2021. Always a good time to reflect on the year ahead. Any big developments, any big changes in your industry that you're looking forward to that may occur in 2021?
No, the same as I mentioned. I believe that we will see, huge dimension and better quality of money, getting in our in our space. That means it's a healthy signal, for growing in other scale.
Just as an additional question out of interest, would you advise a new player entering the space? I'm even talking maybe even a retail player, but institutional as well. Do you think they're better off investing directly in the crypto market itself or in public mining operations such as your own? And if so, for what, why, for what reason?
I believe that it's totally different, game. But I believe for the crypto mining in huge scale, it's a very difficult business because you need to be, vertically integrated. That means you need to have your proper electrical staff team. You need to have your proper RMA for repair the machine. You need to have, software factory for made, and modify uh, the proper software for manage, millions and millions of microchips, at the same time. That's mean I believe that it's a, for the investor, it's like a clean, business, high tech,
Yeah.
future. But in the real, it's a tough industry. It's 24/7. You need to suffer, high temperatures inside the farm, very low temperatures outside the farms. You need
Right.
challenge, every day. It's a dirty, industry in one way.
Certainly. As an Australian myself, having to stand in Quebec and do anything in a winter sounds terrifying to me. It all sounds too cold and too miserable. But it works, and it works well for the industry. And there's clear successes, and I think you guys over at Bitfarms have shown us how it can be done and how to do it successfully. And as you said, with good and clear regulation and sort of a clean way to get things done. So Emiliano, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Really appreciated your insight. Crypto mining, it's a space that doesn't get enough airtime, yet underpins the entire industry. So we thank you for your work and for your service. And for all our viewers, keep watching Reimagine. We've got so many more good interviews still to come. Thanks for being with us. Emiliano, thanks again.
Thank you very much to you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.